Hey, folks. Coach Patrick here from Endurance Nation, back with another 15-minute segment, an opportunity for me to sit down and communicate with you around a topic that is near and dear to heart, and something that's been front of mind. As we go through the evolution of a season, there's always different milestones for athletes. As a coach sitting here high above the fray, I get a chance to look at how things unfold across different sports, across different athletes, different ability levels. And my job is to not only help athletes individually, but also to identify trends. The reason why trends are important is because it becomes information that I can bring back to the community, to athletes like yourself, to help you better understand the process which you're experiencing right now at this given point in time in your season, and how you can turn that process into an advantage, right? If you think about, for example, you're going to your first concert you've ever been to, and there's a process getting from your house to the seat inside the stadium for your concert. We'll all just imagine that we're going to a concert right now, and life is awesome. And when we go through that process, there's lots of different steps you need to take. Some people have done it before, and they have a very smooth trip getting from their house all the way through to the stadium. They're on time. They're ready for the concert. It's going to be awesome, right? They have everything they need. Life is good. Other people, maybe not so much. Will they get to the chair for the concert? Absolutely. But they'll be, exhausted, out of breath, totally stressed out, and perhaps not in the best place to enjoy the situation. And so part of what the job here is as a coach is not only give insights to athletes individually, but also to be able to give them some resources that they can go through. What's up, Stuart? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in, man. So in addition to saying happy holidays to everybody at the end of the year, part of what I'm going to talk about today is what I call building habits of endurance. And so what I want to talk about specifically is what are some pieces of the puzzle you can put into place to become successful over the course of your season. So when we think about making improvements as athletes, myself from an athlete perspective as well, a lot of what we're presented are hacks, right? When you think about a hack, to me, it seems it's posed as a shortcut, right? Like, what is the easiest way for me to lose weight? Give me a body composition hack, right? What is the easiest way for me to get faster on the bike? Give me a bike hack. To me, that really embodies the speed to result conundrum that we face as a society overall, which is I don't have a lot of time, but I know where I want to get. How can I get that result? Right. So I could really work on my, I don't know, if I was a professional personality on TV, I could really work on taking care of my skin and body composition, or I could just get a bunch of work done on my face, have a great makeup team, and get liposuction or something. And I've also achieved that same result. It's cost me money, but I've achieved it in a much faster timeline. And so that speed to results conundrum is really the opposite of what we think about when we think about endurance. So when someone comes to you with the fastest path forward on a certain topic, I really encourage you to take it with a big grain of salt, and instead think about a process or a habit that you can put into place that's going to allow you to achieve that result. And the reason why habits are important is that outcomes are just a point on a journey. And we can define what it is that we want at the end of that journey, but going straight to the end point without experiencing the journey, without experiencing the full ramifications of that journey, actually is more of a negative impact than a positive. So I'm going to take you guys over to my whiteboard today, because we're definitely going to be doing some whiteboarding, because I can't, I can't help it, right? So if we think about our journey and what we're doing, and this is kind of where we're starting from, and our goal is to get from point A, and we want to get all the way over here to point B. And this time in here is what is really kind of up for discussion, right? Because sometimes this time frame, it could be something like, it could be, 1 unit, it could be 2 units, it could be 4 units, and those units could each represent, a quarter of a year. They could represent an entire year. So this journey from A to B really varies from athlete to athlete. And I think it's important for people to understand that when we go through the process of moving along from where we are now to that desired result, that this journey itself, when we really kind of zoom in on this journey here, it's really interesting in that there's all sorts of variety that happens in that journey, right? So we start off at point A and we head out to point B, but as we zoom out on that journey, it looks like this really nice straight line. Or as most of you athletes prefer, it looks like a line that goes like that, right? It kind of, we've got some improvement, we've got a delta. The issue with moving straight from A to B, right, like this, and just saying, you know what, we don't have to worry about all this time. We don't have to worry about all this mayhem that happens inside these 2 points. We're gonna take A and B here together. We're just gonna say, you know what, I'm gonna A-B this bad boy, right? I'm gonna put it right like that. The issue with that process is that we're totally missing out on this aspect of our season. This aspect right here, right here. And when we get into the block of thinking about time, and we get into the block of thinking about what it means to be successful as an athlete, it's being on that journey, because that journey, what's up, Steve? Good to see you, brother. What's important about that journey is that we can't predict the evolutions that are going to happen, or the iterations that are going to happen as we go through the process. And if you just formulaically decide that that outcome is what you want, you don't really appreciate the evolution that happens along the way. So habits are important, because habits essentially are processes that we put in place to create the change that we want, but they give us the time to go through those evolutions together. Okay. And that's an important distinction relative to how we've handled things typically as a society, and how perhaps you've handled things in the past as an athlete. Okay. So let's head back over to the whiteboard here and talk a little bit about this. So let's just say your top goal right now, which is a pretty common and popular goal right now. We're going to say just going to put body composition out there, because everyone has a different goal. Weight management, total health is important for everybody, and everybody approaches it differently. Regardless of what your desired outcome might be, I want you to think about it, the changes that you're going to make from body composition as a process of a habit, and not so much as speed to outcome, right? So if you want to lose 5 pounds, or if you want to add 5 pounds of muscle, or if you're going to simply just change the type of food that you eat, whatever it may be, we want to really focus on what are the steps that you're going to take, those habits you're going to take or implement that are going to create the outcomes that we want. Because along that journey, there's a great deal that goes on. So for example, let's just say in this case, this athlete, we'll just use myself for example. Right now, I'd love to lose about 5 pounds. And I say 5 pounds, so my goal, and it's very important that you write out what that goal is, right? So the goal for me is to lose 5 pounds. I'm currently, about 10 pounds off of race weight. So 5 pounds is a short-term goal, gets me closer to my race weight goal. So that's based off of my own personal knowledge. It's a reasonable goal. It's achievable. And the goal is to get to this 5 pounds. Now, I could do something crazy fast, right? So we talk about what it means from a time perspective. If I say, hey, I've only got like this much time on the dial to do this problem, I could go crazy and drop 5 pounds in no time flat, right? And that, that takes me back to like high school wrestling. Coach Patrick, in a tracksuit with like a garbage bag like over my torso, and like head, skull cap on, and just sweating it out and shedding water for some kind of weigh-in. Do I lose the 5 pounds? I lose the 5 pounds, but it's not sustainable. It's not going to create any change. And the biggest delta for me as a coach is that we learn nothing out of that process other than how much we hate to wear plastic bags and exercise covered in sweat, right? So that's just not a really positive change that's going to yield the outcome that we ultimately want, right? So people will generally say they understand that, changes that live in that space are bad, right? So people will typically look at changes that kind of fall into like this time frame. Well, they'll say, where do I live here? And they'll say, okay, in this kind of time frame, I'm a little bit better. I get it, right? Like in this time frame, I'm falling into a space where it's not the super short term, like it's not ridiculous, but it's still fast. And I still want some fast, but not too fast. I understand that too fast is perhaps too much of a problem, right? So in this case, I understand that this change is going to take me, a little bit longer than the other change, but this could be better, right? So this is a pretty good space to be. What I, as a coach, am looking for, I'm looking for athletes who have like this much time to invest in this change, okay? And one of the things that I want you to think about here is not just the duration of the change that we're going through. What I want you to think about here is actually, I want you to think about the depth. And this is really what it gets down to is this depth of change that becomes really important. Because when we get to something like this and we say there's a depth of change that comes from the work that we're working on, what I'm really looking for is a better understanding of how you're making the change, and then working along the path of process of determining long-term solutions that work for you. So I want that third option, not time invested as I've got to spend 15 of my 20 hours this week figuring out what to put inside my mouth, but rather I'm willing to spend a great deal of time over a period of time at understanding what are the best choices to make that are going to help me improve my body composition. This is why we typically tackle one habit change at a time, okay? Not because you can't do more, you can absolutely do more, but one habit change at a time, make sure that it's something sustainable, right? So we think about one habit, and I typically recommend that people give themselves 30 days to dive into it. So in the body composition example, just to to give you some depth, if I'm trying to lose those 5 pounds, I need to make several different changes. And I've learned over the course of the years, some things that work for me and some things that don't work. So there's places where I can start. And as I get smarter and I go from year to year, I get to jump into this equation. I've only got to go from here over, right? In like year 2, perhaps when I get to like year 3, I've only got to go from here over, because iteratively, year after year, I'm getting better at understanding the process. So an example from the body composition space in terms of healthy habits that we could work on. Let me just kind of dive into that for you here real fast. When I think about what healthy habits are, what I really want to make sure is that athletes aren't sacrificing their the short-term work that they're doing for the long-term gain. So athletes will want to lose those 5 pounds, but they will also be willing to sacrifice quality of workout to achieve that goal, because the goal of the body composition is so great. As a coach, I don't want that. I don't want 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks of compromised workouts simply because you've got this body composition goal. I'm looking for some kind of deeper alignment. So what are some healthy habits that we can build into place that can help us go forward? So number one, I tell our athletes to start off with something super simple here. And this is going to be like the worst drawing ever, so bear with me here. Okay. This is, believe it or not, like a bunch of grapes. And what I want athletes to go for, I want them to head right there, and I want them to pick out what is the lowest hanging, easiest piece of fruit that you could possibly get, right? So for me, I know from taking a look at my food intake, etc., that my number one issue is after dinner snacking. I've got a sweet tooth, and so my number one target is to head straight for something sweet. So if there's candy in my house or chocolate inside my house, it is in mortal danger of me, because I will find it. And so for me, I've got to solve for that easy problem right there. How do I get rid of that habit and I replace it with something that's healthier, right? So I'm not just banning the food. For me, I turn that lowest hanging fruit, which is my chocolate problem, right? And typically lots of chocolate, because we're always cooking or baking inside my house. I've got to replace that with something else. So my healthy habit change for this is to replace that with some healthy chocolate protein powder. So I go out, I get my Ascent chocolate protein powder, the micellar casein version that's slow to digest. It's great, that works overnight. And that becomes my chocolate solution after my dinner meal. So I'm still giving myself the chocolate that I crave, but I'm being super healthy in that regard, right? And so I pick that lowest hanging fruit and I replace that going forward, right? So I do that and I say, I could also send Tim my chocolate. You got it, Tim. No worries. I want to see you eating chocolate, because I only ever see you drinking beers in all my pictures. I want chocolate and beer in the next picture. But so what we want to think about doing here is replacing that. So the healthy habit for me is saying, well, I'm going to build a habit where I'm going to leave that chocolate protein powder out. This drives my wife nuts. I leave it out on the counter. So after dinner, I do the dishes, put the dishes away, the protein powder comes out, it sits there. So when I get hungry later on, I start wandering around the kitchen, foraging for stuff. That bag of protein powder is right there, and I've got that reminder. Sometimes, speaking of reminders, I've actually got to put it on my phone, make chocolate protein shake. And that's my trigger, along with the visual trigger, to make the protein shake, and I've done it. Now I've satiated that need for chocolate, the sweet tooth fix that I need, but I've replaced it with something healthy and going forward. So I've already replaced these useless calories with something that's going to make my workouts better and help fix that sort of craving that I have. That's a healthy habit that I can begin to implement that makes positive change over time. It's going to take a little bit of time for me to have that discipline to go forward. Then I go to the next piece of the puzzle. Once I've gotten good at that process of replacing some garbage food that I'm taking, I'll go back and say, all right, of the 3 main meals I eat a day, which meal could use the most improvement? Which meal is the worst, right? I'll tell you right now, of all my meals, and I think most athletes fall into this conundrum. If we were just to say that there's 3 meals in a given day, breakfast really isn't much of a breakfast. Breakfast ends up being like a really, really quick hot cup of coffee and some kind of a crazy snack, right? Lunch itself used to be really bad because I was always out moving around, doing errands, whatever. And so lunch became something that was generally fast, right? Right. And it was either fast or it was, if I was being really good, it was something I could bring from home, and it was super portable. So either way, those don't tend to be generally healthy food choices, right? And then now the real issue for me is that we're home, and at dinner, we're doing it ourselves, and dinner is super savory. So dinner is like steak with potatoes and risotto, which is delicious and seasonally appropriate. Does not help my body composition goals. So for me to figure out which one of these things I'm going to fix, I'm going to start with my dinner options first, right? So I'm going to look right in at this dinner option and say, how can I improve this? And what is the sort of like healthy habit that I can put inside this dinner place? So level 1 of that habit, if I'm giving myself 30 days and I'm going to break this out, level 1 of that habit is I'm going to have, 2 nights a week, I'm going to have a salad as opposed to some of those savory things, right? Level 2, that next week, I'm going to go to like 3 salads, right? Level 4, like if I think about going to that next week, it's replacing whatever my beverage was that I was having with dinner. If I was having something with calories in it, or whether it was wine or beer or something else, I may replace that with just, plain old, water, right? So along the way, I'm making a small change. I'm committing myself Tuesday, Thursday salad, right? And then the next week it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday salad. And I've kind of got that habit built. And then I say, all right, I'm going to make the fluids a little bit healthier as well. Over the course of that month, I'm getting better, and I'm learning along the way of this journey, which is really important. I'm learning which of these changes is easy and which of these changes are not easy, because these changes require me to get the salad, make the salad, get the salad dressing, explain to my wife while I'm not eating the food, and kind of go through the transition of like maybe make a little less of that because I'm going to have salad instead, and sort of change some habits, not just for myself, but for everyone else who's sort of involved in this dinner process. And then over time, as I get to the end of that month, not only am I making better, healthy food choices and improving my body composition, but I'm putting habits in place that are going to help me sustainably be healthy over the rest of my year, over the rest of my season. I don't expect people, and this is really important, I don't expect people to be healthy all year long. I don't expect that you will eat salad from now until the day that they lay you down inside the earth to become part of someone else's salad. How metaphorically appropriate. Instead, I understand that there's varieties in your season, and there's times where you're definitely focused and where you're not focused. But when you think about making these changes, I hope you can use some of these lessons today to really focus on making a positive habit change and understanding that the habit change and the duration of time you can invest in that habit change is actually an important tool in learning that works for you. Other quick examples that fall into this space are super, super easy, right? So getting back into running. Most people want to get back into running after some time off at the end of the season. What do most athletes do? They remember, last time I was running, I had this great 10-mile route that I did and these long runs, and we were just killing it. We were running like 8:30s. It was perfect. So what do? That first week, they do whatever they're running. And that weekend, they go out and they run 10 miles at 8:30 pace. They're tired. Maybe they start the beginning of an overuse injury, or maybe there's something more acute. Their body's not adapted. So over time, athletes get smarter. They understand that they want to achieve that 10-mile, 8:30 pace goal, but they have to get back to it incrementally. So rather than just getting back into the run, they do what we call developing a run habit or run streaks. They might run for 30 days, very short distances, very short times, easy to factor into your day, especially whether the weather's great or not so great, or you have little time or maybe a little more time at home or at the office or in your home office. You can work that running in so that your body gets over the hump of the re-entry to running, and you're in a better place to be able to handle it. If you can run 2 miles 5 times a week for 3 weeks, I'll give you permission on that last week to go run a 10-miler. You've been running 10 miles during the week. Your body is prepared for it, but we have to get there, and it takes time. And across the course of those 3 weeks, you're going to remember, that's right. I need to stretch my calves beforehand. That's right. This is the right gear I need to wear. That's right. I keep forgetting I need to eat something if I'm going to run longer. We learn all of that in the block of time that we're implementing that healthy habit, so that by the time we get to the desired outcome that we want, which is the weight loss goal or the run distance goal or the speed goal or whatever it is, you don't only have the result within your reach if it's not already there, but you have a body of knowledge, personal knowledge related to your ability to create change, your willpower quotient, right? Your local support quotient, your family. Maybe your family hates salad. I have no idea, right? And you have a better understanding of that, which then allows you to become a better athlete overall, because you can shortcut it next time. Jump to level 2, level 3 because you're better, or back up the process, right? My family hates salad. I have to start just bringing in lettuce and leaving it around and showing my family that it's not dangerous. It's not going to hurt anybody 2 weeks before I start actually eating salad, and they all freak out, right? So the habit building process is important because it adds context to the process of self-improvement and helps you get better at understanding the nuances of how you learn and evolve. And then you can work that process into becoming a better athlete across the course of your season. All right. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. And of course, I talk about all these healthy habits, and then I set you free into the holidays, where you and I both know that healthy habits are not easily found. So I hope you do the healthy things you can this break, and get some great sleep, get outside, enjoy the fresh air, bundle up if you're living somewhere cold, make some great plans for some fun to have over the holiday season with your family and friends in a socially distanced and safe way as possible. And do your best to offset the potentially poor food or beverage choices that you make, but you certainly deserve them. It's been a tough year. I'm super proud of all of you for the focus that you've had. And I definitely look forward to getting back to whatever our new normal will be in 2021. And I look forward to hearing from you about what your lessons have been about the healthy habits you've implemented and how they've worked. Have a great break, everybody. I'll see you guys in January. Take it easy. See ya.